I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to this meeting today, this morning, and thank you for attending and coming together. That's really important. I think we'll start with introductions, and I'll start off, and then I'll have to go over here, and then I'll have to go over there. Or we can go around and you're the last one. Okay. So my name's Colleen Hughes. I'm a clinical placement nursing coordinator for CPNW in the North Puget Sound region. I've been at this for 4 years, and I learned an awful lot about healthcare. I've been in healthcare for over 30 some years. I won't tell you exactly, but I've learned an awful lot from this, from both perspectives, education where I came from and the healthcare organizations, which I basically worked in when I was younger. So things have changed a lot. I do have something more to say here. I have a lengthy history in healthcare education and healthcare and education. I have worked with Allied Health before from the state of Texas and Washington. In Washington, I was the former faculty member and director of nursing at Lake Washington Technical College. So I had a lot of opportunities to work with people in beginning programs and try to interface it with nursing, because I think we're all a team. And so with that, I'll go down the table for introductions.
Thanks, Colleen. I'm Jolita Perez, multi-care college student relations specialist. My voice is a little low today, so excuse me.
And I'm Darcy Gibson. I'm the Director of Workforce Development for Multi-Care Health System.
I'm Laurel Lundeen. I teach at Highline Community College. It's not community anymore. Highline College, and I place their medical assistant externs, and I'm the coordinator for the Healthcare Professions Department.
I'm Melissa Scheibe. I'm the Student Placement Coordinator for CHI Franciscan.
I'm Ana Garcia. I am the Education Specialist at Providence St. Peter Hospital, and I place students at Centralia and at St. Peter.
Diane Demiscio, Education Director, Providence Southwest.
Angela Walensky, Green River. I am the Clinical Operations Coordinator.
My name is Donette Perry, and I feel like I can connect with everyone a little bit. I was an employee of Multi-Care for 20 years and took students every quarter, every year. Loved that. Then became an adjunct instructor for the PTA program at Green River, and then became the quick clinical coordinator. Did that for 6 years, then became the program director, doing both jobs. I'm now the division chair over all allied health in Green River, but just gave up the clinical coordination stuff a year ago. So I am so wanting to wear all hats, but then delegate. So I'm here hoping to represent all of us. I don't know, most of the students.
Hi, my name is Lisa Johnson. I'm the Clinical Placement Coordinator for the School of Nursing at Pacific Lutheran. I'm also the CPNW Secretary, so I'm here taking notes. So I'm going to get the nursing perspective.
I'm Mary McDonald. I oversee placement for the South region, which is this region, and in the East, Spokane and Idaho. Have been with CPNW for 13 years and pretty much involved with all facets of the operations.
I'm Aaron Korngiebel. I'm the Interim Associate Dean at North Seattle College for our Workforce Instruction Division.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Stephanie Thompson. Welcome to GCC. We're so glad to be hosting you all. My name is, again, Stephanie. I am the Health Sciences Coordinator here. I work with all 7 of our health science programs that are housed in this facility.
Hi, I'm Michelle Hillison. I'm the Dean of Health and Human Services at Clover Park Technical College.
I'm Josie Meyer. I'm the Clinical Placement Coordinator for Nursing and Allied Health at Clover Park.
My name is Teresa Stock. I do clinical placement for the students here at TCC, levels 1 through 5, and recently got invited to sit on the user group for CPNW.
Sean Van Domelen. I provide support to our clinical coordinators for all of our health sciences programs besides nursing.
I'm Tricia Foreman. I'm the Medical Assisting Program Director and Practicum Coordinator for Renton Technical College.
Good morning. I'm Vicki Hertig, Director of Nursing, Renton Technical College. And good morning, I'm Colleen Basham. I'm the academic counselor for all the allied health programs at Renton Tech.
And I'm Corinne Jarvis, instructor and clinical placement for health information technology here at TCC.
And I'm Serena Reese, onboarding for multi-care health system.
Well, thank you, and I think that covers a lot of areas. We should have a very interesting discussion. I'm going to open this right now to the healthcare initiative on the agenda. And I think all the handouts have been mailed previously. Hopefully you had a chance to read it between then and now. And I think I'll just open it up for discussion.
Is it all
Healthcare. I think healthcare can start. Discussing.
I suppose on behalf of Multicare for a healthcare organization, I want to say the purpose for the CPNW initiative, the understanding that it is a joint venture, and my understanding that conversations have been taking place with both nursing and allied health for many, many years. And so I've only been part of CPNW for a little bit over a year now, maybe a year and a half now, and VP of CPNW. So my perspective of the October 1 launch was to help standardize and streamline our process as far as clinical placement coordinators within the healthcare organization to help us track where students are coming from and where they're going. I have many, many students that I place every year, many students. Last year I placed roughly 2,200 of your students across the board. And for one person doing that, it's, sorry, my voice is hurt, but it's very difficult to track that without any type of standardization. And so, to me, the standardization that CPNW has created for us as an organization has helped me to pinpoint at a very quick rate where our students are within our facilities. And at Multicare, we have 5 major hospitals. I also place in our outpatient clinics and settings, as well as any of our newer inpatient acute, not just our hospitals, but Covington Medical Center as well. I am the coordinator for the entire health system. So it is extremely, I find full value and benefit of this initiative. And I'm just hoping everybody does too. There's more to come, not just standardization, but there's more to come. I know with onboarding, I have my fellow partner in crime over here with onboarding students, and it's not just the 2,200 students, but it's a very high volume. And so when we're looking on a quarterly basis, I know we have our universities who do semesters, but if you look at it as on a quarterly basis, that's about 500 to 600 students rotating. And so it's very challenging. But again, the CPNW site is my way of making sure that the students are meeting their compliance, that the students are coming in and doing what they're required to do, such as going to the training, making sure they understand HIPAA, making sure they understand hand hygiene, the basic things that are required as part of coming into a healthcare organization in our facilities and taking care of our patients. That is our goal, is patient care, patient safety. My goal overall is to make sure that our organization is not at risk for anything, take care of our organization, take care of our patients, but also to take care of the schools and the students from those schools coming into our facilities. So that, I think, has been the major benefit that CPNW has produced for me in my seat. It's just all about compliance, making sure that everybody takes their training. The modules, we have about 8 modules on our CPNW site now. And just by going through all those modules myself and seeing what students are also going through, it's time consuming, I know, but also as far as multi-care goes, we also added, initially we also had the students do another 2 hours of our annual mandatory education training, which would have even made it more time consuming. But because CPNW has done a great job with our e-learning modules, then I was able to go ahead and remove that, those extra 2 hours from that student taking their learning modules. And so that's been a benefit to the students, I think. And then it's just really the paperwork. And I think for onboarding, we only have 4 pieces that the students have to complete. That's it. So.
I have a question regarding before the modules came into place. Could you give us an example of how many hours it might take to process on average per student?
The annual mandatory education was what they were
Just
taking
everything
before.
that, I mean, from the paperwork to the badging to the modules, all of it. I mean, what, if you, before CPNW started impacting your process, how long would it take per student? I mean, has that?
I will speak to when I started the process. And so prior to CPNW learning modules, I would say that with the annual mandatory education training that all staff have to take once a year, that could take any given student, and I know that it will vary between the students, but I would say on an average length of time, it probably would take about 2 to 3 hours
per student.
Per student. And that was just with our annual mandatory education, but the reason being is because that was multi-care specific. And it read and touched on all of our compliance, all of our regulations, all of the, you know, just, well, like I said, just compliance and regulation. Everything that is needed to be learned, or at least reviewed by the student prior to coming on board. So you have 2 to 3 hours for the students, and then the CPNW modules on top of that would be a lot of time.
What about our other healthcare partners in terms of, would you agree with that assessment?
I would.
So I started onboarding allied health students a little bit after the beginning of the year, but Diane here had worked on a packet that had reduced the time and the number of modules that the students had to do. And that packet had everything included in it, so it had to drastically reduce the onboarding time for them. So I would say probably closer to an hour for us at that time, but it's now changed.
I had early on talked about having each hospital and each school having like a number assigned to them, and just having each student having their own profile, and then just having each quarter, at the beginning of each quarter, we would tell the students to just check a box, you know, having the website where they would just go, you know, we just tell the student, go in and, you know, they'd say by checking this box, you're giving multi-care or Franciscan or whatever the authority to see your profile. And the profile would just have whatever requirement you want them to have. So it'd be the form that you guys have or the intake form that you guys have, and then that's it. And then you guys just can go in and see it.
And that's what we're doing.
Because I miss that, and I feel, because I'm never sick. I'm never sick, right? And of course, the last user group meeting, I was sick that day. And so did we move forward a little bit?
What Teresa is basically saying, the student does sign consent
Yeah.
at the beginning and that's part of the registration and so forth. And healthcare now has the ability to actually go in and see
I'm super excited about that. I think,
And
I just
so
think it's gonna be amazing.
That is going to be
How fun is that gonna be? Right?
You mentioned that healthcare can go in and see passage, so.
they'll see pass fail, yeah, and so that's, yeah, that is what they asked to do. And also basically just the OIG GSA.
Will that be moving forward, also be with their paper, like for when they wanna onboard to the, like each quarter as they wanna onboard? Like say for instance, this quarter they're going to see Melissa over at Franciscan. We could just allow them to have access so that we don't have to bundle each quarter. Because each quarter we have got to do that big bundle and I've got to give the students a deadline every quarter and then they've got to give me this big stack and then I got to check it for accuracy and then I got to send it over to Melissa and then Melissa's got to check it for accuracy. Because I just think that if I could just upload a summary sheet, telling Melissa who's coming, and then the student just checks the box and she can just see their stuff. There's just no reason to pass all this paperwork and gather it all.
Well, paperwork actually is really a FERPA violation, anyway, okay? And so is my security email, unless you have encrypted email, and we all know that. So the idea being, and it's a legal discussion right now with our security lawyer and so forth, who is very familiar with HIPAA and FERPA, is how do we turn on the certain students and so forth. It's challenging, because
Yeah.
you can't really turn on masses because of, just like a patient record, it's need to know, and so you have to have a focus. And that's kind of the discussion on the table right now. It's legality, how we exercise.
Upload it to the site.
But that's the hope, because that's what you really want. Is the efficiency for healthcare.
Yeah, like e-signing it on like, so there's the two forms state, well, I think there's gonna be a third form, right, for Franciscan, did you say? So there's the three forms sitting there for her, they go into CPNW and they're like, okay, e-sign these three forms for Franciscan, and they e-sign them.
Yeah.
That's a FERPA, there's a violation possibly?
Well, you have to remember, the student does sign a consent. We're one of the only actually organizations that actually are encrypted, which is really interesting because all these other vendors that are in use now, people are using them, lo and behold, they're not encrypted. And so we went through all of that, 2 years of agony to encrypt and all the data sharing piece and all that. And so we do have the security of the system to actually do this. And so we just have to do it correctly.
Yeah, because I'm thinking if I just tell the students, hey, go on here and e-sign your three forms for Franciscan, and then all I do is upload the summary sheet for her, and they've all done that. There's no paperwork passing. I don't have to tell them to do anything except for do that for her by February 10th. By February 10th, you just got to do that, and then she can just go and see them. We don't have to gather anything. There's no printing, wasting paper. There's no nothing. They're just there, and she can just see them. And there's, this gathering and paping and looking and sending and gathering, and it's just done. And then I can do it for Jolita too.
No, nothing is secure, which is interesting. And so that's where we're at, and
Okay.
that's on the table.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing right now. The beauty is that we have the #1 cybersecurity lawyer.
That's cool.
And so John Christensen actually guides us, and it's quite a process, actually.
And what is the timeline on those changes? I would, for example, I was just notified in December that I needed to be sending the transcripts from the modules for every student. And, I'm learning that it's accessible.
As far as multi-care goes, this is almost my first time. I wasn't aware of that. But I did ask that question, and can we view it as organization or industry? Because that would be easier. But now knowing that we can view it, honestly I have been out for a week, but knowing that we can view it, then it could be one of our changes in the system. But as far as today, at this point, until the change does occur, and I will let everybody know.
Yeah, the changes is just, we're right on the edge.
Okay.
That's what the other list, so site access for you guys is coming.
Yes, very soon.
So, question, because I know I think everybody has the same intent. We want to make this as effective for students and the facilities and the colleges as possible. And we're still really new in the process for allied health. I think nursing's been at it for long enough that they've pretty much got it down. You had mentioned that the modules are taking students quite a lot of time. And I know I have the feedback from my students and staff because we've been doing this now for a while. Not that long, but at least for a while with allied health. Have you guys gotten any kind of feedback about how much time that's taking other students from other colleges?
So it's taking anywhere between 4 and 5 hours.
For to complete all the modules?
But now they've added the 8th module, so I haven't heard any feedback on that.
Okay.
So with the 7 original, it was taking between 4 and 5 hours.
Okay.
We're getting the same with our students. We've been doing it for...
I actually did them myself and it took that long.
Me too. It took me 4 hours.
Yeah,
it is.
And that's what
I'd like to think I'm kind of bright.
Yeah, we're getting the same. I've done 5 weeks. We're getting the same kind of feedback.
Until you get your score.
I know, right?
We're getting the same kind of feedback around that. So one thing that we're looking at is, do we count that as clinical time for our students?
I did, and I'm still working with my accreditation because it's a lot of time, and students are already overwhelmed with all the stuff that they have to do. And there are, we've got a bunch of stuff that they have to do according to our accreditation for medical assisting. So we have our own accreditation, just like nursing. But I'm trying to work it out to where it can count as part of their hours, and I did count it, so I'm hoping that that's okay.
Right.
But I think that's a solution, is if we're able to do that according to each individual accrediting body, then that's what we're going to do, because it's a lot. And our students have to do 200 hours of...
For MA.
Yeah. Which is a long time. So.
I don't get any fight on it as the new students. It was just when we transferred over from the old to the new system, they were like, grumbled a little, but.
So how does it compare? I'm curious, because it is a lengthy piece of time. And with the thought being though that we do it once a year, and how would that compare if we went back to a previous system where a student had onboarded 3 different hospitals? And I don't know if there are any students do that.
Our surge tech students do.
Yeah, okay, and so if you had onboarding, I have done that in the past. I've onboarded to 3 different systems myself just to see what it would be like, and I would have been as a student. And so if I onboarded at Providence, Franciscan, and Multi-Care, I'll just use our departments here. And it takes absolutely hours. And it's so redundant. And whether you read a packet, and we're hoping our students do read packets, but I'm not sure about that. I don't know how you ensure that. And then you move to the next system and you do the same thing. It's just kind of regurgitated, redundant stuff. It's not to say that it doesn't help the student. Impress upon them the importance of the information. But how much different would it be time-wise? Say you invest, let's just say 6 hours like an employee does at Virginia's Medical Center. And no one really wants to do this. We're kidding ourselves and not being honest. Today I get to, renew my employee requirements, okay? And you guys all do this, I know. But then you're done. You're done, and it's updated, and it's relevant, and you meet the requirements of your organization. So students do the same thing. And those are state and federal requirements. So, like I said before, if I had to do it 3 times, would that be less, the same, or more? I'm just curious.
Currently, how it is, whether the actual onboarding and completing the forms hasn't changed much. It's now going through the CPNW website and doing the modules, that portion has changed, but a student will still need to onboard at every different organization, and that goes through faculty and comes through me, go through each of you, and yeah.
But I think what Marion is saying and what we've discussed is that before we went to this, Jolita had the 2-hour one. We had an over 50-page orientation, post-test, something like that. I'm not sure what.
We just had a new employee orientation package, which was just a packet that touched base on every single requirement. And then they signed an attestation form indicating that they had read them. And that replaced all our previous modules. And that was probably maybe, if they really read it, it's probably about 30 to 40 minutes.
In addition to the old 5 modules that were on the old CPNW website. So, trying to bring it back down, I think was kind of the goal, the purpose, and, the appeal for everybody, not just healthcare, but for students. I mean, if I had to go to hers, mine, and Anna's, I would not want to do all of, like Mary just explained. That would be awful. If you did it 1 year to do a quarter there, a quarter here, that's a lot. So we were trying to minimize that, as well as get the standardization. So I can speak personally to having conversations with students last year who called for various reasons, and in talking with them, I'd ask them about orientation. And they say, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do that. Somebody just had me come in and sign like the 2 Franciscan forms you guys are familiar with. I didn't read anything. I didn't do a post-test. So now I have modules. I can see the report and go, yes, they've done it. I can attest to that. So if I'm ever called to the state or joint commission or audited by anybody, I can say, here's what they did, versus here's a piece of paper that they probably didn't do it. So that was kind of the concern.
So this is probably a new can of worms. And I don't know the answer to this, you guys probably do. Can you tell how long the students actually spend on each module? Because having been in education for as long as I have, I know that people tend to share test questions. And I know for my faculty, if somebody takes 15 seconds to do an exam, we're pretty sure they didn't do it themselves, right? Because that's the same thing. They'll just sign something and not read it, but they also might not necessarily go
Our
through the
test
module.
questions are random, they're randomized.
So that
you
helps.
can't, if I pass mine to you, good luck, because it switches up.
Okay.
Yeah, our e-learning designer actually was in on the ground floor of ATI nursing. It's a pretty, Roy Ramsey knows students well. And he's a tremendous developer. Colleen works pretty closely with Roy as well. And that base has been covered.
Good. Yeah, because we're
We know
continually.
students, I mean, we were students, and how do you get from point A to point B as quickly as you possibly can? Really, this is human nature, we have to be honest, but this is about learning and quality and risk to our organizations. It's a lot of risk. And you can say, well, the EMS student is only in the ER for, but then you look at data, the data that our healthcare partners collect. And I hear a lot of stories statewide. And how do you reduce it and eliminate as much risk? And we want that because these are our future healthcare workers. We're preparing the workforce. And understanding human nature, we try to build these things in. For you as well. For all of us, I think we're on the same team.
I have a question since I think this is allied health. I'm not sure how many different types of programs are being represented here, but since it's non-nursing, I assume, how is it structured? Let me paint a real quick picture for what we have to do. Ours is 560 clinical hours for their internships, and by accreditation standards has to be 4 different settings, cannot be repeated for each of the 32 students. So we're having to find and get students onboarded or whatever the situation is. But this multi-care Franciscan and Providence system is about 10 to 15%. Because we have to do outpatient clinics, we have to do the extended care facilities, we have to do the varieties, and I'm not sure if that's the same as the others that are built in. And so our students are having to do the hours and the training and the modules and for this portion. But again, it's a handful compared to how many other systems are out there that we're having to go through their portals, whether it's the life care, whether it's all of the other systems. And how does it work for you guys timing-wise? Because we don't even know, did we get a placement through this system? And if not, how many others do we have to try to get to? And then wait for their answer, yes, we're gonna take your student, no, we're not gonna take your student. And then trying to get 28 different sites for that year, and then start all over again. But the timing of it all, how does that work for you guys?
I wish AJ was here. She's our church tech instructor. She's
Rebecca Callahan might help you a little
exact
better
same
too.
issues. She's supposed to be here, so let me text her. She might be able to
help you. Here, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
so I do allied health and nursing for Clover Park, and I think we have 9 allied health programs. Every one of them is different in their requirements. Only 2 programs might have some students who would benefit from having the modules done.
Okay.
So 2 of those programs would have 2 rotations that might cross over Franciscan Multi-Care or Providence. And every program has different needs. Every program has different clinical sites. Some of our programs don't use any of these sites. Some of them, it's kind of a 50-50. And others, they're always going to be at one of these sites. So.
The timing, how do you work the timing of needing to know, did I get a student in there, or 5 students in there, or none?
On a quarterly basis, I try to gather from all of my programs what their needs are for the quarter, and then I summarize it and send it to all of them. And so they can then go to their departments, and then also the organizations outside of this as well. And responses start rolling in, and I'm tracking it on a spreadsheet and on my whiteboard so she can come peek through my office door and who are we at for next quarter. And
Someone wanted a year ahead of time. They wanted an answer a year ahead of time. How many students are you expecting us to take? And then, okay.
yeah, and I have one program at MedLab Tech. The labs had given us feedback that they wanted to know, they wanted to be asked in January for an October start. So, okay, I'm asking in January. And then for these ladies, I know it sounds crazy, but I'm asking for her. And yeah, and the labs are, it works for their scheduling, so.
So then for those programs, for our nursing, it's an 8-to-1 model, 8 students to 1 instructor that goes out with. The other programs, are they all 1-to-1, or what do they look like out there?
The students are out there typically with a preceptor or just matched up with a person
One.
in a, yeah. And the faculty are checking in on them periodically.
Okay, that's what I'm familiar with, just wanted to check, because I think everyone else is on 1-to-1.
Yeah. So, and as far as timing goes, we can't require anybody to answer us by our timeline, which can get tricky because we also want to place our students in the best possible place for them. You know, if you're thinking shift time, if there's a student with childcare issues or transportation issues, or it's much easier if you know all of your sites first. And then, you know, what if you're just missing that one spot, but you need to start onboarding, and yeah, then it can get complicated.
In a perfect world, we would like to let the students know by midterm, the previous quarter, where they're going.
Oh, absolutely. In a perfect world,
perfect
2
world.
quarters ahead.
Yeah. The world's not perfect. We're certainly striving to get that way. I think where some of the challenges goes on the short-term programs. When you're used to looking at the world as a 1 or 2 year program, there's a lot of time before we start getting students out into clinicals. When some of our programs are 2-quarter programs, that means that Hep B is the biggest problem with a 2-quarter program. But starting, as soon as we know how many students we're going to have enrolled, starting to try their clinical sites, it's a very quick turnaround. And we don't even know the personality of the students yet.
Right.
Because we really want to place them in a place where they will be successful.
And I guess that leads me to the whole, this is a great system, but there's many, many other systems in place that mirror it, that we're having to work with. And so some of the things I'm hearing from OT side, from the PT side, even the nursing side, ways to try to expedite responses, or the whole verification of getting into a system, and then you have to wait for a code to come back, and you've got 10 other portal institutional organizations you're waiting for. It just, boy, if we could increase the response to what's happening and how to get there and the efficiency of it. I don't know, but there's so many complications out there that if we can have the student waiting for confirmation from their instructor before they can go in to do the modules, but I know there has to be check and balances. Boy, time is a factor. Time is a factor.
I could speak for multi-care on the time factor for you done it. I think for multi-care, given the volume that we have, for rehab, they have a system. And so rehab departments, and this is across the board for multi-care, they will start spring quarter. So roughly, I'd say March to May. That's when they start taking, I have several inquiries for rehab, but that's when our rehab department managers will start taking those inquiries and offering the spots that they can, that they know a year beforehand. Some rehab departments, they'll take throughout the year as well, but I would just say that majority of our rehab departments have a standard process in place at multi-care to where it's springtime, and that is their allotted time for accepting students. And so when rehab departments, programs reach out to me outside of that duration of time, then I tell them, I pre-communicate that to them, and I say, hey, well, if you could follow up in spring, early spring, then it's first come first serve really. And our rehab departments, I believe they are very good at getting back to our program leads as far as who's doing the coordination piece. I even created a new process for rehab that works very well, in that adult rehab, all placements go through me, and so I will disperse and distribute. That way it allows our managers, our rehab managers, to take that off their plate and to give them time to just look at. I have somebody from, I'll just say, Green River, I have a PTA, so are we able to take this PTA, and then I distribute amongst the areas which I know are willing to accept our students. With pediatrics, those all go to the actual manager, the clinical managers, because that's their process. But again, it's a united process that we have going on, and it works. So as far as time, again, I think that we do fairly well for the time as far as getting back. When it comes to preceptors, that's a different story. Practicum spots are different. When I'm looking for allied health, I jump on those. Just as well as nursing, there's no rhyme or reason. It's just I know that allied health, they do seem to be waiting. And so, not our programs, but our managers. Our managers are waiting. They love taking you guys as students. Just how many of those students can we take? Because again, I have a lot of inquiries coming through for allied health. And just looking at the numbers between both nursing and non-nursing, which includes allied health, I'm at a 50-50 mark already. And so if I'm seeing that I'm at a 50% mark with allied health too, onboarding them the exact same way, it makes more sense, because they're coming through our doors, and whether it be 80 hours or 500 hours, they're all coming through our doors and coming through our facilities and experiencing patient care one way or another. If it's not direct patient care, they're doing something for that patient, one way or another. And that's just what I see. So I think our timing is okay for the most part. I think we're doing pretty well with timing.
Oh, I could not imagine doing your job. You're doing a fantastic job. Just some of the details of
It is
how the time is
detail-oriented.
spent. But
And I may not have a whiteboard, Josie, but my tracking system is my computer. But I do track every single one of your students.
So have you had any challenges with timing for training new site coordinators with CPNW? Is that part of your?
well, part of it was the having to wait for the verification code for every student to get apparently from their faculty person before they can go in to do it, and they're trying to access it on the weekend because they're doing all of their schoolwork through the week, and just the timing of that kind of stuff, or every time the clinical coordinator logs out and has to get an authentication code to get back in, and just the processing.
Yeah, that's usually firewalls within your systems.
Is it?
Yeah, because I usually get my verification code within 10 seconds. And if you talk to your IT folks, they can actually open up that system. If it's taking longer, it's a firewall issue and an organization issue. Because that turnaround should be just absolutely immediate. I can do it on my phone now, and
So that every time you go, every time you go out and get back in, you have to get another code.
Oh, absolutely. That's two-step verification. That's no different than a healthcare system. And we couldn't have encryption otherwise. It would not be secure. But the verification piece, if you're having issues, we tell people to use your phone carrier more than.
Yeah, no, I think it was more that, okay, she's having to do this for
It's-
every organization that she's trying to get a student into, that she had to get different codes. But I understand you having to protect because of FERPA, HIPAA, patient protection. I understand that, it's just, it's a challenge. It's a challenge.
And Mary, that's the feedback that I've been getting too, so I'll have them check with the firewalls. Is sometimes it's taking hours to get that authentication.
Oh, yeah, either that or it's in a clutter or something, but usually we really encourage people to use their phone.
It is much faster on the
The
phone.
phone is just, for me, it's like literally 5 seconds. I've timed it on different systems, I have different servers, and, well, I was sitting with Stephanie not too long ago, and she did it. But if you're having these issues, really, you have to talk to your IT departments. It's firewalls.
And I just want to clarify here, for the verification, you're talking about when we log in as administrators and then we get
Anybody
the
logging
text or.
in.
Okay, so what we are experiencing some challenges with is when students or faculty setting up their account are using the access request part, and then it comes through to us, or maybe it doesn't. And yes, we've looked in clutter and junk, and I go in, I log in, I look to see if there's any requests pending in there, and there isn't, but they have an email confirming that they've sent in the request. So that can be a challenge also when you're working on a deadline to get in onboarding paperwork.
And one thing we realize, any new system, heck, we're going, not like a TCC has been doing, but through CTC Link, any new system has its challenges, and it takes a while to iron everything out. And sometimes just bringing up what some of those are. If we know about them, we can address them. And
Yeah, so if you have any kind of tech issues, any kind of real IT issues, resetting passwords, things like that, use the support at CPNW. Anything else, go to admin, come to me, but the support at CPNW generates what we call a work ticket, and that everything is timed and we track it, everything to the millisecond for response time and correction, and it is a true IT work ticket. So if you contact them with something that's not a really high-tech issue, then it's a waste, and it costs money. We're really trying to contain costs, and I know you guys appreciate that.
What is their availability?
They're there, I think, from 10 to 5.
Monday through Friday?
Monday through Friday.
Mayor, have you had anybody saying that like one browser works better than another, or one they have more challenges with a certain browser?
The IT folks really like Chrome.
They say Chrome seems to work the best.
Although it should work, what they do insist on, it works on everything. I mean, I have different browsers, and it's updated browsers. If you have an old browser, you're going to have problems. You're going to have problems every single step. So you have to update your browsers. That goes for all of us. Yeah. And you get that on everything. You're on your computer, not they tell you, update your browser.
One thing that we're talking about implementing next fall is many of our programs are going to bring the students in before class starts. They're expected to onboarding at requested their account. And they're all going to be sitting in a room working on their CPNW modules all together. And so that's a way to kind of streamline that a bit. And then we're bringing in the passport, and there's the spring immunizations, and we can start having the kind of hopefully streamlining it a bit so we won't have the same
WSU pharmacy program does that.
Right.
And it really actually has, they do everything like one day. I mean, seriously, right now, the WSU, it's just amazing. They have it like clockwork. It works.
And we're hoping it works, and then we've got not just the clinical director in there helping students, but extra support people too, and then we can bring CPNW, okay, we're doing a big onboarding here, stay tuned in case there's problems, so we'll see how it goes. I don't know.
There is challenges, and what Michelle said, implementation is never easy, and it's rocky at best, and we go, oh, you know, I mean, they're really actually growing pains and pain points for all of us, we know that. It doesn't matter whether you're implementing Epic or anything. I just talked to Maddie yesterday, and they're getting ready to, the military's pretty big outfit, and they're doing this, and they're piloting it and adding it, and they're really crude about it. And regardless of what you do, it's kind of like crash and burn at different points along the way. And so your feedback really is valuable. We really appreciate that. We know that onboarding to healthcare is different than onboarding to ambulatory sites, and students have to, jump through those hurdles or over them. So what we're hoping, after we get put out to more fires, of course, we're onboarding the North Healthcare systems here in fall, which is going to be huge, but to start the conversation with ambulatory partners. And will they accept, we've created directories of our objectives with our modules and so forth. If they view that, will they accept those certificates? So that the students don't have to do that piece at every single site. I mean, we are trying to think of all the stakeholders, keeping the costs down, standardizing things so that in the end it's much simpler. Hopefully. It's just very rocky.
Wow, that's every provider at every level.
It's huge. But we did this journey, you guys, years ago, 13 years ago, 14 years ago, when we began standardizing the health and safety requirements across all the employers. And that was started in this region. And it was not easy. And here we are today with the clinical passport. And you think, well, that was easy. No, it really was not easy. It was actually very painful, and it took about 5 solid years of conversation. But here we are today, our Department of Health, Employee Health Network. In fact, our state of Washington embraces us for creating that. And so it just takes time. But we need your feedback. If you experience problems, let us know. The website, we do want to know that. It helps us get better. We are thick skinned, we can take criticism. And hopefully we're doing something together that's going to help all of us, in the end.
We're can be a big problem is if we lose placements over it, because we're unable to resolve something in time to onboard.
Hopefully that won't happen. I'm hoping it doesn't happen. We have 200 programs now, what we call business units in our database, and it's 4,000 to 6,000 users. And we're managing. Most of the north is coming, that'll be like a tidal wave. But I think that our healthcare partners in the room actually have paved the way. They have standardized things together that are really good healthcare partners in the north, and so they're in communication, which is a big thing. That'll help our students.
And I think that's key, because our goal is our students, right? To make sure that our students are ready to go out to the clinical sites and have a really positive experience while they're there, and maybe even get a job, right? It's always a goal. And so, I know we've spoken before, some of our students are really struggling financially. So, in fact, many of our students are really struggling financially. And the cost, appreciating that we're trying to keep the costs down. And one way that I know is it's on the plan is to have the ability to kind of take over what we might be paying an outside company to do right now. Like, we utilize Certified, which is almost $100 for the students to be certified for their national background check, as well as uploading an electronic portfolio. They also give you the green checks to let you know if the immunization things meet the standards that we put in, which has been, in one respect, very helpful. But for some of our students now, we would have that almost $100 fee and an additional fee that we have going on. And I know that our plan is that CPNW will kind of take over that electronic portfolio and doing the background check eventually, right?
That's the goal.
Any idea where we are on that eventually right now? Excellent. Can you share?
Turn the camera off. We do have a discussion timeline that I think would be helpful to send out. It's really impressive. That is our software developers are Microsoft. These are very, very skilled software folks. Our aim is to actually have the initial passport piece, which is immunization. That's what Teresa was talking about. She's on the user group, which is a great participant. Colleen is on that team as well. And so the hope being that by fall we'll have this finally. And it's a huge piece, actually. We have a lot of functionality already done. The idea always is to come in under that threshold of certified or American Data Bank, to do it more cost effective and actually better. That's the challenge. And so we're looking at different proposals now, how to bring that about, how to work to bring that about. We're always looking at cost comparison, doing comparables, even with the background check piece. And to that, right now, the OIG GSA application that CPNW has successfully run, we run all the names in the database every 30 days. And so what that means to a school that's large, like WSU, they actually employed someone for 45 minutes every day to run all the names. And it took them a month to do it, which is the OIG GSA. And somebody's got to be doing this. Okay, so our application runs all the names like about 2 minutes every 30 days. And so what does that mean to healthcare? We should probably ask healthcare, but I can tell you. I'll tell you. Anyway, if our students, any of the students are on, we have a positive hit on the OIG GSA, for every time that student comes in contact with a Medicare patient in any capacity, opens EMR, delivers something to the room, it's a $10,000 penalty to the healthcare system. And so the application cost is $12,000 to build, and it pays for itself almost immediately, because we run those constantly. So that's what we try to bring into the equation. So when we meet, we have these huge brainstorming sessions, and it's always with the idea how do we do it better and cost effectively. And all of these vendors, all the background checks, everything that we pay for, our students pay for, or the programs pay for, are profit makers. Okay, we are 501c3, and we do keep costs contained. And the contract that we look at, we're pretty sure, and we keep things pretty tightly run, I would say. What would you say? So not a lot of conversations, I think, but it truly is a nonprofit. And if you're looking to make a lot of money, I think you need to look elsewhere, because we watch the expense.
You know, having been in the education system, there's some problems, and we're going to have to think about this too, in the accuracy of the information you're getting back. When whoever that person is who's verifying that information, that can be problematic as well. And I have had directors and deans approach me and say, when is CPNW going to get this done? And you know, as Mary said, we do have a production timeline, so it will happen. But we have to be very, very thorough with this. And cost containment for the student. We don't want that.
Absolutely.
You know, because they are gouging. I'm just speaking from when I was in education, they gouge students, I know it. And you talk to anybody and they're changing. They're changing from background check, certified background check, to American Data Bank to Castle Branch. I mean, they're going back and forth. And I had the University of Washington ask me the other day, when, you know, so all the schools, you know, Lake Washington asked me the other day. So in fact, they thought we had it already. And I said, no.
Mary, when a hit comes up, if it was to, I've never had a student have one, but if it was to, what does the system do?
We give it to the school.
But what does it do? Like, okay, so where does it pop up?
Our system actually will take a name, let's just say Vicki for take it, it'll run, sorry.
Mary. There's something to say across.
Let's say we have not had one positive hit, but should that happen, so the application will run Vicki for take. We have Vicki's information in the database, and so the address and so forth, but it runs not just Vicki, but every single Vicki, Victoria, whatever, you know, just probably 20 names associated with the name Vicki even. And so it will isolate, let's just say it is Vicki, and it's a positive hit, but it goes right back to, if she's a student, right back to you, say, if you're the coordinator. You don't touch it. That's what it'll be just basically a positive hit.
Will it email me though? Will it,
the system, yes, the system will tell you that it is red flagged. This student, you will need to look into that.
And
we don't do that.
And it does, it will email me?
Yes, they will be notified that you have.
Okay.
You have an issue.
Okay.
Yeah, believe me, they have an issue. Everybody.
The bells go off and stuff, and it's.
Oh yeah, because it's serious.
Yeah, I've never, of course, never had.
You should read pamphlet from the federal government. It's really serious.
Yeah,
It's serious to help their partners. When you think that there is a 60% concession rate on the dollar, it's amazing that they can stay operational, really. The profit margins for healthcare are so slim. And they know, I think, for us as partners, we need those training sites. And so we try to be good partners and how can we help you. So that's, you know, it's a symbiotic relationship, I would think. And so that piece is very important, but it really eats into our staff time at our schools, because they're not going to run the names. We have to run the names. The education people have to do it. Somebody has to do it. So on your large programs, get ready. You know, somebody's got to run those names. And you can say it's free. It is free, but time is money, and somebody's paying for that. So now the computer does it, which is that's what we want. We want to embrace technology at every step that we can. Keep tell you the background checks. Our one software person, Tom Apple, he's all over that piece, and the profit margins are huge with these background checks. And that is what we have to do. Because they outsource that too. And so in the end, the student or our education program someone's making.
It's always the student.
They're making,
It's
they're
always
making
the
money,
student.
you guys. These
Yeah.
guys stay in business because they're making profit. And we want to undercut them.
Yeah, because the second year background check for our students, they were charging, Verified Credentials was charging $40, and it's only $12 to run a Washington State Patrol background check.
Yeah, well, moreover, and there's many stories like this, and from one of the programs in the room, I mean, it's always like, are you busy? Are you sitting down? I go, oh, no, you know. But I had a healthcare partner, actually, someone I'm very, very close with. She's not here anymore. But we got into an argument where she's actually asked to take it outside her office, you know, because I was arguing with her. I said, that school is paying, I know they're paying $100, they have the premium package. They said, we want that pulled out. We want the watch pulled out separately. And so I thought, oh, brother, okay, whatever, okay, we'll do it. But then, lo and behold, and it was certified, and they were not ready to watch. And so that was the phone call. We discovered, because our healthcare partner demanded that the watch be pulled out separately, and we discovered that they were paying for something they didn't pay. And what do you do then? Well, the program, actually the school, is an emergency because they had to actually absorb that cost and run the watch on all the students immediately. So we just want to build something that's easy.
I think I've heard that example brought up before, and it was a lesson learned for all schools then, to be really careful about how you communicate with Castle Branch to be sure you're getting what you need. I know when I was setting up my account with them, they didn't understand that the watch was a requirement, that like specifically that, you know, when they're running, there can be so many different background checks that are run. So if they're doing, if they're covering Washington State in some way, they thought they were complying. But knowing the history of a major faux pas, that miscommunication, I was able to make sure that that's on there.
Yeah, and these vendors, you know, I'm not besmirching the vendors, but what I'm saying basically just points to the fact that if you create an application, embrace technology that parallels the requirements of your health and safety requirements. This is a custom build. So that wouldn't happen. So our build actually parallels precisely the requirements of our clinical passport. That's, and so there can't be miscommunication. So if our passport changes, we have to, you know, tweak our application. So it's just the difference in doing something with a national vendor and as opposed to actually doing it in-house. More control.
Yes.
New members, drivers, they own it.
I feel that way about the immunizations too. Like, I have an ongoing issue with, you know, right now we're using verified credentials. They just cannot get the tuberculosis. They just don't get it. I don't know if it's because it's a nationwide and different schools and stuff. I can't get them to just understand and make it the way I need them to.
Well, I think that they're on that issue, Teresa, it's very interesting because for years we get pushback, and I think that you guys see this with your vendors. These are not CDC standards. Our passport is not CDC. Our passport is AOHP. It's our employee health network. They're actually higher standards, okay, because we are at higher risk within our demographic. and it's actually our nurses within our healthcare system statewide, as a coalition that manage our passport. And so it's actually it's actually better. And so sometimes you get that pushback from the vendors going, but that's not CDC. Well, you're right. It's not. And so that can be a pushback.
It's always a pushback. It's just like, this is what, you know, it might not be what you, but this is what I need, you know, and then it's like, okay, so this is the way we need to do it. It's like, okay, if that's the way your website needs to be, then, but they will not
So
put
you just
the
have to
instructions there. So
Yeah,
our students
Association
never
of
know.
Occupational Health Professionals.
Right.
AOHP, it's not CDC. And
Yeah.
so,
Our students are always lost, so I just instruct them. So literally, when they get to their second year and it's time for them to do their annual, I just walk them through it, how to do it every time. They call and they're like, yep, I submitted my annual, it got rejected, what do I do? And then I tell them what to do. So I just do that all year
you're
long.
getting a kickback from.
Right, I should call them up and tell them that.
That's a problem. I mean, even the medical providers that our students go to tell them that it's wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, no, you don't need that.
Yeah.
You know,
Right, I
so-
do that too, yeah, they're like.
Well, you know, and the thing, the beauty of this is that actually, this is creating a standard. This is, and you have to ask yourself, why do our employee health nurses, our Department of Health, they love us because we've raised the standard of just the knowledge base of what is needed. Yeah, because I'll tell you, providers sometimes don't know. My husband certainly doesn't know. People bring a passport and he goes, oh yeah, I have a passport. Now, but immunization is a specialty, and keeping up with them. I mean, these immunization nurses, they are hot dogs, man. I mean, I'm telling you, these guys are really smart. It's a specialty.
I like it because it reminds me of when I was a kid and we'd have to play Monopoly by the rules, otherwise there'd be an argument. So it lays it out very clear.
It does.
Yes, it's very clear. Nobody can argue because it's very clear.
It took a while, and then, it's passed around every year. I mean, Diane sits down there at the end of the table, but I mean, she really, everybody's eyes, how do you write best practice? I mean, it's because everyone looks at the same thing. And until you create a standard, you can't process and prove. Everyone's in a silo, doing their own thing. And that's the problem.
Mary, excuse me, how can people give input on the passport if they would like to? What is that process? I just wanted you to articulate that again, just so that people understood that passport. How they can give input if they want and when the timeline is for that.
Yeah, so our current passport is approved once a year. And actually, just the next couple of weeks, I will send it forward. And Nancy Johnson at Franciscan Health System actually is kind of the leader. And she connects with her network statewide, so all the other employee health nurses. And they provide feedback. And we share that regionally with our members. Many people around here see all that. And they tweak it and play around with it a little bit. And then we arrive at the next clinical passport, which is good for the next academic year. So it takes place mostly, I want to say, March, April. Yeah, in preparation for the academic year. It takes a couple months to actually pass it through to people. But the beauty now is that they're waiting for it. I mean, they look at whatever changes happen. They discuss our clinical passport in their meetings.
The requirements on that are cost prohibitive for many of our students. Any recommendations that anyone's experienced on how to help guide the students through the
Immunizations are expensive. They just, it's, I know for some students, they have access to the university health system. That saves money. Keely has a health clinic and the university health system, but
Yeah, do people invite, agencies in to provide that for students? I'm really interested too. I know Renton used to do that, and I don't think we did it last year, but anyway, any ideas on how to do that? It's just an individual thing, or?
we looked at that and it was the liability of bringing someone in that our agency said no.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we ran into as well. because we were actually connected by Rite Aid. They were willing to send a pharmacist and have a whole thing, and I ran it through our compliance officer who ran it through the AG who went, oh!
Reason being primarily?
Liability around having that on campus. I know what I've heard from a lot of my faculty is with ACA, the cost of immunizations has become a little more doable for some of our lower income students. And so there's a lot of fear now that might be repealed or changed in such a way that it could limit our students' ability to get those immunizations. Which we have no control over.
Do you tell students where it's, most cost effective to go? I mean, I just didn't know if we just said, here, you need this.
I always tell them to go to the Washington Health Plan Finder and to try to see if they can get their medical through that first. And then we have a pamphlet that I give them that's got some clinic places. And I give them that as for resources for clinics. Anybody that's here is welcome to take that with them before they go if they want a copy of it. But it's just local clinics and stuff. So I do give them that. Yeah.
It can be. I know we've sent students to multi-care before because they have clinics and sometimes they're on a sliding scale, which is really, really beneficial for us.
Yeah, and then if they're having trouble finding their immunizations, I guide them to that website that's, what's it called? It's through the state. That's like if they have lost their records or whatever, because their doctors are supposed to send them to that. There was that one time, I forget what it's called, but they're supposed to have reported to the state their records. So if they follow what they're supposed to be doing, they should have reported them all to the child profile or whatever.
It is.
What's it?
It's
Child profile.
It's the database.
Yeah, the database, child profile. So if they did what they were supposed to, they should be on file with the state.
The beauty, therein is a future beauty. Diane, Commissioner, and I were talking earlier, but once we have these in our system, they'll be in our system.
Right.
And what does that mean for the student going out into the community to be hired? What does it mean to the healthcare provider? I sat in a meeting in the East a couple weeks ago with a former dean, now Sacred Heart clinical director of education, and she said if it's in the database, we spend this much money upon hire to check all the immunizations for the student hired, but it will already be in the system. And so there's a beauty there of cost savings for everyone. It's just things that we talk about and things that are very much in the parking lot. Always conserving resources and not redundant processes that cost money.
God, I didn't even thought about that. That's great. Yeah, I always tell the students when they're here to make, start their portfolio, but that's even going further. That's really great. Because they're going to need it when they go out to get their jobs.
And how much will it cost to store it? I mean, it'll be minimal. We can have it for a period of time and then deliver it to them or something, but it'll be somewhere in the archive. But to not redo immunizations, that's such a waste, such an expense. So important.
Castle Branch offers that. Once we archive them as a student, if they chose, they could go on, and I think it's $20 a year or something.
Which is expensive because storage is not that expensive, And so again, what can we get or nothing? Give it to the next employer, download it, there you go. Thank you very much.
But it's an option that's available to them if they found it helpful.
We're having way too much fun next week, you guys.
These guys over here.
It's Friday.
If it's these guys, it's probably the EMT, right? Is it EMT guys?
Of course it's EMT. Well, this is their usual classroom, so I don't know, it's okay.
Yeah. Or no, oh wait, that's 127. It's probably the nursing students.
Do you guys have any questions on on a handout that actually, that we drafted for you today. Can you, I just want to know if you have any questions, because it's so rare an opportunity that we can. That would be an opportunity.
Sorry, thinking from nursing, but having colleagues. So what do you folks do? Because not every one of your students will go to a CPNW site. How do you deal with the cost of both immunizations, which may not be required at the extent that CPNW does, as well as the modules, et cetera? How do you handle that for students in the same, I may be sitting next to Colleen here, and she may be going to a CPNW site, and I'm not. How do you deal with that with students?
We tried looking into putting them into lab fees so that they could be covered by financial aid, but because each student is not guaranteed to be going and spending the money that way, we couldn't. So it's an individual cost for what we're doing.
That's what we were going to try to do. Incorporate it, but we can't do that because not all of them, so it's not fair.
But how do you do that? Because there's students who
can't afford it,
and they're having to go and pay this when the seat next to them does not.
I think I just asked the students, you know, if they want to go to one of these sites, it's going to be an extra expense. Are you able to afford that? And if not, then find
well,
a
we
location.
have student emergency funds, like up to $200 that I think was a temporary solution, but I don't know that it's something we're going to be able to continue to do.
Through your own division?
We have our students, it's through student.
College-wide.
It's a student success thing.
But not sustainable.
Yeah, it's not sustainable.
And it's a one-time.
So that is a catch-22 that we have found, because if they can afford it, great, but most of them are saying, no, I can't afford it, and these are some of the most valuable sites. These are excellent sites that we want our students to go to, but we're losing them because the students are saying, no, I can't afford it.
Wow.
There are some students that have been really resourceful with funding or, you know, whatever their sponsor, financial aid or BFED or
For this
source.
quarter, but for next quarter and the next quarter, it's
it's an individual.
It's expensive,
You had asked about immunizations too, that not all sites require the same outside of this, and this is something we went to about 5 years ago because it's far too complicated to track what every single site is going to require. And I do know that sites that don't require the level of the passport will accept the level of the passport. We also don't know which students are going where. So like our central service sterile processing program is a great example because they're not going to have contact with patients. But they might go to Multicare, Franciscan, Providence, and they might go somewhere else that's not part of this, and we won't know until maybe a month prior. So they all have to be.
So you're saying they all have to pay?
Yeah, I'm lucky because I do nursing, and mine are going to go see Melissa, Jolita, Western State, long-term care. I just make them follow the passport and send them on their way.
Well, probably, when you think about it, it protects them. And the only thing that I can't think maybe that would not be mandated in the ambulatory setting perhaps would be Hep B. But when you think about Hep B, you're saying, well, Hep B is Hep B, but actually Hep B can kill you. And knowing that, I'd rather save my students, sorry, it's going to cost you a lot of money, but it might save your life. You know, and so, and that's not dramatic either. The statistics on Hep B and connection with hepatic cancer. Pretty high statistics.
So I can see them having to follow the passport, we do the same thing, but the $50 consortium fee?
Right.
That's that, do you have them all pay that?
You can't.
You can't.
No.
You cannot. And
That's what we're talking about.
See, yeah, and how do you deal with that with students?
Well,
That's just a hard
It's
one
still
to
very new.
rationalize.
Right, it's still very new. If you have a program that every student is going to go to one of the big three, right, it's easy.
Sure, absolutely.
That's why it's easy with nursing. All of our
Right.
nursing students go to one of the big three, right? So that's easy. It's the students that you might have 60% go to a hospital site and 40% not, and they talk. And that's where it starts to become a little challenging. And it's still fairly new. We haven't got a lot of pushback from students yet. But we'll see.
So this year, we paid the fee for everybody, but for the programs that are going to one of the big three, we requested through our board to add that as a student fee for them moving forward. And then other programs like HAT, Corinne, don't you just say if you want to go to one of these systems, then you'll need to pay this fee. So it's a case by case.
It is case by case, and that's certainly the biggest issue. However, out of the big three, we actually only use one, which is the multi-care. Franciscan HIT is Concord, and we're not in a acute care setting, so this doesn't apply whatsoever. And we don't have Providence close enough for our students, so our students are making the choice, and so far we've had one student. It's unfortunate because they're missing out on an opportunity. The cost is prohibitive, and the immunizations is prohibitive for students who have zero patient contact. And that is a hard pill to swallow for our students.
I'm uncomfortable, and I'm trying to articulate why that is. And I think I understand why we're doing that, but I'm uncomfortable with students who can't afford the big three. I'm going to come away with this meeting with the big three. But the students who can't afford to go to the big three, that whole idea that you've got to pay to play, and if you can't, then you don't get to go there. And I feel uncomfortable with that. I understand why it's happening, but it's uncomfortable to me, very much so, that we basically say, if you want to go there, you got to come up with the money.
So it's basically right now between the acute care setting, what you're saying, and the ambulatory setting.
But that's not-
In the standards or?
Yeah, but it's a distinction that I'm not sure we want to perpetuate with our students.
I'd like to throw something out here. So I'm just trying to understand here. So like, for instance, like when I'm going to level 5, I know I have 8 people that are going to go to Madigan, and they have just certain requirements. So I'm going to pull them aside. So I don't know, we usually know a year in advance. So do you know how many people you're going to need to split off enough to
know?
know?
We get commitment from each of those 30, for each clinical time period.
Right.
For those 32 students, I have to get a yes or a no that one-to-one is accepted.
So it's kind of like preceptor, so you're not knowing to the last minute?
Even though we put out the requests a year ahead of time, we don't get the responses back. And so we're having to communicate with each and every site right up to the last minute sometimes. That's not the way it should be done, but in reality,
Is
that's
there
what
any way
happens.
that process can be actually improved upon? I mean, for instance, now, we've actually begun our academic year in November, December. And so we send out.
For decades, the physical therapy and PT assistant, and I don't know if other entities did the same, we had a deadline and it was agreed upon nationally. We sent out an availability request to all of our clinics, and we have contracts, for us, we have contracts with 328 sites. We get responses of about 23 back. Requesting availability the end of February, 1st of March for the following academic year. And that's the plan. Do we get responses? No. And now as it's going more and more toward having to put the requests through portals or through systems, it's reversed who's responding ahead of time.
And is your issue just the CPNW, if they're going to need to pay the money and do the CPNW modules, or pay? Is that what it is? Is that last minute notice if they're going to have to go into CPNW?
No.
Or is there some other things that are factored?
How many can we get into the overall sites through CPNW versus, because again, that's about 15 to 20% of those 128 clinicals, because we need to know, okay, can we get that many going here? Because we also need to get all of the others placed and waiting for responses from all of the others. It's like a card game.
It's a puzzle that you're trying to put together, and students, you can't really work it until you actually have confirmation.
There's too many moving parts.
I can maybe talk to you separately about like metrics I use to get responses.
Josie does have a difference of the She shared those with me too. I think the relationships that you build with your partners is critical.
Oh, it is. And part of the issue too, and I'm sure you're finding it, is that more and more, whether it's outpatient orthopedic clinics, whether it's private, small assisted living, whether it's, they're all being bought up by corporations. And that's changing the relationships because we did have, and I think we all know how local relationships were wonderful. That works so well. They're being bought up.
To Vicky's question about presenting this to students, and for us it kind of varies by program. It'll depend on really how many of those students need to use the big three. So Surge Tech and Central Service are great examples, and it's not only acute or ambulatory because we have a lot of acute sites that aren't part of this. And but Surge Tech and Central Service both do 2 rotations, heavily utilize the big three, and heavily utilize other sites, but we need students to be able to go anywhere. So I think for the most part, it's kind of you get what you get, and you need to be prepared
Because we
to
have,
pay for that.
We have other funding challenges. This is one, and I absolutely agree with Vicki, is where's the equity for students? So if you can't afford to go, then you will go to the prime site.
Right.
But we also run in for our students that has nothing to do with Clinical Placements Northwest, is how far do they have to travel? And of course, we're Tacoma, so we've got the bridge at, is it $5 now to come back our way? Yeah. So you can leave Tacoma for free. We're going to charge you to come back. Right, and
We need to get a little fairer, you guys. We need to be consistent. It's all the little.
it's the little things that they're not, they don't realize coming into students that this is going to be expensive. So we have emergency grants through our foundation, much like I think most colleges do. We start looking at opportunity grant, we start looking at all other ways that we might be able, and if a student does qualify for this, sending them someplace else, or maybe they can find some funding that would help them offset the cost of going to school, because it has become prohibitive, and unfortunately it's leaving our financially fragile students behind a lot of times.
And they might be awesome.
They might
future
be the
employees
best coming out.
Well, that's our mission as community colleges, even if we lost the name. We're still community colleges reaching out to those in our community, and they're not able to afford it.
And that's how we are continually trying to figure out ways that we can serve those students and help them be successful. So, time and money, the two are connected.
Yeah, I work with the scholarship office here heavily. We're doing a scholarship workshop coming up here too. There's money for you guys, come and get it. And sometimes they forget, but we tell them all the time, come get this money, come and get it, come and get it. It's here for you guys.
And I think within our systems, there's redundancy in that too, because every office you go to, you have to fill out paperwork with a lot of the same information.
Yep.
In your life, in your time.
So there are no, I'm looking at, just because that's where so there's no plans really to have everybody pay a fee. I mean, there's no way to make that happen. So so you're still going ahead with how to help those folks. I still have that concern, you know what I mean? That it's just this inequity of.
We cannot ask students to pay for a service that they will not utilize. So if we charged every student the fee, the $50 fee, at the end of the program, we'd have to refund that fee to every student that didn't use it, right? Because we can't charge somebody for something that they do not.
We actually have to do that as well. I mean, so we track our database carefully, and every 30 days, if numbers do not coincide, you have to reconcile. You either charge more, refund, or whatever, but charge anyone without the service.
Absolutely. And I think that's where,
We get in big trouble with audits.
which is
I'm just
why-
looking for answers.
I know, and in this one, every time I go to my budget director, she just kind of goes, oh, no, no,
Cringes.
sure. But, because I went to her right when this came up to say, can we do this? And she just looked at me and said, no.
So looking at the future though, because you are reaching really high. I mean, the goals for the CPNW system that you're putting into place, it's huge. And it could be, in some ways, very beneficial. I can see that. To where in the future, if all healthcare organizations are going through that system, then we could charge that fee.
We could.
Couldn't we?
If all of the
Because all of our
students
students would be going through it. But until then, if they don't know how to use it. So potentially in the future, we could charge it as a whole, as a fee.
Well, if we're sending them there to do their background check, that's the first piece. I mean, all of our students have to do a background check, and if that's where we're doing our background checks, that's where it starts, right there.
Well, we'll start, there's kind of a sequence that we'll start in acute care setting. That's why I said the North Hospitals, that's fall at 17. So they're getting geared up now. Acute care setting is the first piece, and then you move out into ambulatory. But certainly if they're interested in what it is we do, I mean, that's a discussion.
Well, it's not if they're interested, though. Our requirements have to drive where they go. It's not interest driven, unfortunately.
Well, if our product serves their needs.
Right.
Well, if it's the background check and immunization tracker, and they have to pay for that, that's the fee right there.
So once
That's
that's
justified.
available.
That makes it justified.
Well, and my hope is that this will end up saving students money once the tracker and the background check comes in. But we do have to look at the student's financial situation for a lot of things, and if they can't afford the extra $50, then we need to try to put them someplace where we need to try to find another source of money.
In the meantime, but if it is available for all of our students to track, then we could put it in a fee that would be covered by financial aid.
If there wasn't an additional fee to do the modules.
Right.
So
I wonder if we could do that. Could we ever do that where it is a course fee that pays for their background check? Because right now it's not, right? And they pay for their own background checks. It's not a course fee.
Ours is.
No,
They
mine's
pay
a course
for-
fee.
Ours isn't, it's not
I
here.
attach it to a
It's a
course fee.
required component.
Yeah, it's not here. They pay out of pocket, and they go in, they order a background check out of pocket.
I
It's not a
attach it-
course fee.
I attach it to a course. It's paid at the same time they pay their tuition. If for some reason they don't utilize it, maybe they
I'll have to look into that
stop
one.
out of the program before they actually run the background check, then we need to refund it to them, but that's only a handful.
So just to be clear here, so financially it'll cover it? So they get more money? I'm not sure how.
It's paid at the
We
same
get
time.
invoiced.
If it's a requirement of a curriculum, then absolutely.
So like they get like workforce funds for it, like if they were on workforce funds too, or something too?
So it's
So it could be a part of workforce funds or BFET funds or something like that too? We should look into that.
It's a required, like a lab fee, right? How you attach a lab fee to a course, it's a required fee attached to a course. And where we're set up with Castle Branch is they go into Castle Branch, and then Castle Branch bills us for every student that utilized the service. Then we reconcile those across. And if there's a student that did not utilize the service, then we need to refund them their money. So there's a little bit of time on our side, but it saves so much time for the students and our faculty, as opposed to them having to sign up and create everything along the way.
And it doesn't matter where those students are placed.
No.
They all have to have the background check. Now, not all places are requiring national, but we don't know where we're sending them. So, and
All our students do the same one. Do you have yours all do the same?
yes.
Yeah. What about, do you guys, does everybody else?
I want to
that
know
places?
how current they have to be. Do they have to be like within 6 months or a couple months from when they go out? What is the requirement? That's kind
I
of.
think it's within a year.
Background
I
checks?
understand,
Well, we do ours when they first order. We make ours do all the same. They go right now to verified credentials and order the national.
At the beginning of your program?
Beginning right when they onboard.
Because we were starting to do that as well, and then I'm finding that, it's maybe a year before they do their externship if they do it at the beginning. So is that going to be too far away? Does it need to be closer to when they do their externships?
We do it the quarter before they go out to internship.
Yeah.
Quarter before.
And we did think, well, if there's any question, when the students are coming into the program, if you have any question or you're wondering if there might be something in your background that's going to come up, you should do one.
We bring it up during orientation.
Yeah, exactly. But otherwise, it should be closer to when they are actually getting placed in the clinic?
We
like within 6
typically
months?
do it the quarter
Okay.
before they're going to clinicals. We do have one program, and I think it's just their preference, because all the students in every program get the spiel about the background check, but there's occasionally that one that really thinks that they're gonna not come up on there.
Right.
And then there's, occasionally the ones who come see me ahead of time and say, hey, this is on there, do you think it's gonna make a difference? So, but there's one program that's 5 quarters long, and this is where we're a little bit different, and that's probably our longest program. And they have the students do a watch separately when they start. So they haven't gone through 4 quarters before going out. And then it's the quarter prior that they go into Castle Branch and do the full national watch, all of it.
Yeah, that's what we do too, customize it depending on which program and their timing.
And yeah, something could have happened in that year too.
So could you clarify to me exactly, do they need all of these background checks? I get a little confused with this passport here, and it's got 3 different ones listed, A, B, and C. So what do they need?
According to the passport, they need a national upon admission to the program, and then a watch, an OIG-GSA, and then every year's watch. And we run OIG-GSA every 3 days. CPNW does.
So that's part of the fee. Yeah, I guess that's where I'm confused.
Those are the requirements of the passport.
The requirements.
Yeah, our clinical passport is a document. It's a standardized document that lists health and safety requirements across the employers. That's what the passport is, across the state of Washington for the most part. We don't track that now. We don't track that. That's according to the accreditation agreements. Okay, those are the standards set forth by your healthcare employees. That's what your students are mandated if they're going into their settings to have. From the immunizations on the left side to CPR, to annual TST here, and down the list.
I get that. I can't put my head around what the background is. So is that,
Well, there are different checks. So you have your
Right.
national background check, and that is at an interval. So it's admission or higher, because we're talking about faculty too, or readmission or rehire. And then also the watch. The watch is also done annually, and the OIG-GSA is on admission. But then we run the OIG-GSA every 30 days automatically. All the names in our database are run every 30 days, all the active users.
so unless they are with CNPW, this isn't happening. They would do it on their own? I don't know. Am I confused?
So when I start my students, I do a national, I don't do it, the company that I have do it does a national criminal background check. And they also do like the sex offender registry, there's a couple other things they do, and then they do a Washington State Patrol background check. And then a year later, we have to do a Washington State Patrol background check.
Okay, because we're not currently having our students do the national. We're not currently having our students do the national.
You need to be.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially upon admission.
Depends on which students
Right when they
and where
start,
they're going. If they're
or
going to
upon
the big
before
three.
sending them to a clinical, to the big 3, yeah.
So we don't know if they're going to the big 3.
Whenever you find out they're going, then you need to run a background.
Then they need to do a national.
Yes,
okay.
Correct.
And I have found most health sites, regardless of the big 3, do require that.
Oh, absolutely. National background check is huge.
Yeah.
Yes, it really is. And not only that, but within every single
Some are,
program.
You don't need to do the OIG, but most, anybody can go online
So-
and do those, those are free.
What I,
So OIG.
Yeah.
It's just real fast.
And within every
And most
program, you
nationally
have a
includes the
disclosure
OIG
statement.
GSA.
Oh, okay.
So
And it really varies actually by program and organization. I would say just for us, it's maybe half and half.
Is not doing it is huge to the program.
But I think what we're saying, because we also have a civil services program, and DSA just only requires the And so, and when the students go out to those clinicals, they run their own background check. That's separate from ours, so.
That's,
right.
yeah, that's, they have different checks, just like Eastern State, Western State, and when I'm trying to get the secretary's list, they have their own, but they run them.
Right.
And, oh, yeah.
And that's where everything is
It's a little bit, because
very different.
We run them as a way that we can counsel students. You know, if something
And
comes
it's
up,
actually really smart.
and they have an opportunity to sit down and say, did you remember that when you were 19, you did this?
Well, the thing is, at some point, it's going to come up.
Right.
When they go through the doors of employment. You know, and that's why the other piece that programs in our state are not completely on board on our, under the background check, you see disclosure statement. Every program should have one of those that the students sign. And that is a huge piece of liability for the program. Because in other words, if you admit them, and this happens, you guys, a lot, and over the weekend something happens. And you think, well, okay, I already have my checks, I'm good, but you know what, they're not. And so the risk to your organizations is huge. So it pretty much mandates them to come in and tell you that something happened over the weekend. And you need to know that.
And Franciscan will not accept without a current disclosure date. So that annual date, so people have had them sent back, passports sent back, that has to be updated every year. So, which, to me, I'm very surprised. This has been a big issue with some schools that anytime I've done a background check for work, I've always had to fill out the form and sign. So I'm kind of surprised that it hasn't been happening, but just know that that is needed to be done every year for Franciscan.
Well, and part of, I think, the surprise, you're right, I mean, it is so different, but first and foremost, our students are part of an academic institution, not a healthcare institution. And so it's a whole different mindset that that's who they are first.
Yeah.
Students.
Right.
And then we're working for getting them into the healthcare
Yes.
institution, but first they're students.
Yes, but if they're going to be going into those healthcare settings with patients, with other people, I mean, that's just part of the job. If, you know, that's what they're going for. It's the same thing with immunizations. I kind of scratch my head, but do you know what the kind of work you're looking to do? I've never done clinical work, and from the get-go, I've been in, you know, Franciscan for over 10 years, and we used to have to do TB tests. I didn't touch patients. I don't care. I'm in the halls with them. I'm in the elevators with them. That stuff travels. So I have no problems. If they want me to do 10 more things that are even on there, I am happy to do that because I share that space with families and patients and other caregivers. So, you know, sometimes it's kind of head scratching, just to be honest.
That's something too that I think our faculty are the ones really more guiding the students through the immunizations, but it is a burden on the students to have them when they're students and not making any money. But, okay, when you're not a student and you're going to look for a job, you're going to need to have them. So it's that catch-22. They're going to have them to be employable.
Right.
And it's part of the learning process as they switch their hat from student to clinician.
Right.
It takes time.
Did I hear you say that you have all your students running background check regardless of where they're going?
Yes.
Depending on the program, because there are some programs that don't require the national.
Dental.
That still fall within my allied health.
Okay.
Right.
Dental.
Dental is
So that's a
assistant.
program decision and not an institution.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, by program.
And human services and, the other allied health ones that might be going to acute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the same with you?
Depending on the program, but our programs all is required. So
All of our programs,
it's easy.
Not all allied health programs.
We only have 3 right now.
OT, PT, and nursing all done.
Yep, mine are, I do nursing, and next week, actually, they'll order theirs, and they'll go to long-term care, and then I'll send them to Melissa, and then I'll send them to Jolita. Then next year, they'll do their watch, and then go all over the place, and then, I don't know, and they'll be done. So I do it. And then they'll randomly be run through OIG-GSA. I don't even have to lift a finger.
That's usually included in the national. So you don't have to necessarily run it separately.
Which one?
The GSA, OIG.
Castle Branch, all of that's included.
In what?
And the national background.
In our agreement with Castle Branch and what they do for us, that's all included.
Which one?
OIG, GSA, National, and Watch.
Oh, I know, I'm saying the GSA, it's on the CPNW. I don't have to do it. CPNW's doing it for me. Right? Doesn't why I sleep. Right.
Thank you.
Can I ask a bit, I mean, it's obviously related, but can I just ask a question, healthcare partners? So if you are you're not hiring, I know that, but just to get an idea, if you have a student who hasn't been in your facility for clinicals, now I'm not talking preceptorships, but clinicals, and you haven't, let me reword that. Does it look good for a student to have been in your facility at some point for you to look at hiring them?
Oh, sorry. I was just going to speak on behalf of Providence. I know that a lot of our nursing students and our allied health students use that opportunity to see if they apply for a facility, and it's the same way with the department that they're in. It's an informal interview is what I keep hearing.
So, and that's for clinical groups, now I'm speaking nursing, but that's for the group as well as the preceptorship. So that's an interesting piece to what I'm thinking, is not wanting our students to miss out on opportunities, because those opportunities are hiring opportunities. So that's a piece that's factoring into my uncomfortable list going forward. It's just, people who can't afford to go, that is a really a good opportunity for them to, be seen and see how that fit is with,
It's definitely an incentive, I believe, to the student. We absolutely take that into full consideration.
Interesting.
With everybody, not just our nurses, because we don't only just need nurses. We need allied health too. And that's the beauty of my position is, my background is workforce development. So I'm pushing the department and what my vision is, my supervisor's vision is, on how we're going to continue to feed our pipeline, our workforce pipeline, with competitive employees. And the whole mindset here for me would be that your students, you're gearing up your students to have, you're gearing up and preparing your students to have their own mindset on what it looks like to be in a clinical environment, whether they're in acute care, whether they're in our outpatient facilities, ambulatory, whatever it may be, they're getting that healthcare feel, the healthcare environment. It's going to look different, say, for, if they go to long-term healthcare. I come from that background too, and then going into an acute setting is drastically different. But if they get the benefit of having the best of both worlds. And so we definitely take that into high consideration.
It's definitely an investment in their future.
Right.
Not only experience, but anecdotally, because I don't have statistics, but anecdotally, in my field, I'd say 80% of the PTs and PTAs I know, and I've been in this for 35 years, got hired at one of the sites that they have a clinical. It's a huge investment in their future.
But keep in mind too, that we don't have ambulatory in the room right now, and they would say the same thing. And so the trend in medicine is 80%, 75% of people in the ambulatory setting. And in the north right now, we have huge conversations going on with the ambulatory sites, our partners, which is the Mason Medical Center and so forth, that have ambulatory sites that are screaming for students. And there are many students, if that's where healthcare is going to take place, we have to get those students in those sites. And they would also say, we want your students, we want your we want to hire them. They're just not in the right now. And so that is the trend. And
Well, yeah, in multi-care, we do acute care, ambulatory, everything, so,
Well,
yeah.
and so
It's everywhere. Home health and behavioral health and.
We put
yes.
them everywhere, yes, and so but that is the reality. So your question, do you hire them? They want to hire them everywhere. I mean, ambulatory, I mean, the need is great everywhere across the board.
And I also find that it varies by program too. For our medical assistants, it's almost blatantly a hiring process that they go through and interviews, and there's some clinical sites I have that I have to remind them that this is a student extern experience. And of course I understand that they would love to have everything set to go to hire that person if they like them after, but.
What I would say too, I mean, looking at from a purely business model is look at what the configuration of the system is as far as do they have like the MA RN model, which your MA's there, because the recruiters are there, you're waiting to sign them up. And so look what the model is of the system and try to build that into your curriculum somehow to benefit the student too. Everywhere they go, it's an interview. I mean, they're looking at it. Yeah, they truly are.
Who are the partners that you're working with for fall? You said up north, so who, you just mentioned Virginia Mesa, but who else are some of the ones that we should?
Swedish Medical Center, we're gearing them up now, to the database. They're going to be, we're committed to fall start. We're all, just like multi-care products, in fact, they're in communication with our partners down here. And they're the one, big one, Virginia Mason. Let's see, Polly probably can answer this one with me, but I think Swedish will be the big dog eating out of the starting block.
Yeah, and
that's Swedish
Evergreen
does.
Health will probably follow after that, and then there's a Providence system up in there.
And, you know, and it's just, this is a process, and so, just like multi-care, Francis and Providence had to do what they do behind the scenes, because not wanting to have redundancy, they remove their information from their onboarding sites, which takes some time, and that's what Swedish is doing now. It's not so, it's not like flipping a switch, because it's pretty complex stuff. But as they do that, it will save them resources as well.
Is Group Health / Kaiser one of those? You know,
Group Health is not a partner right now. There's a few that, Group Health, Seattle Children's, Valley Medical Center in Renton. We just have a few that we have to get out there doing work.
That they're not, okay.
And our sites our partners are all on the website, on the front side, so you can see who those are. But it's ongoing, it's a process.
I think, thanks for answering that question about hiring, because it's what I expected, but I think it really, for me, it just underlies the need to be very cognizant of where we send our students and the equity, so that we're not, you know, you get where I'm going with that. I know at Renton we have an amazingly diverse student body, and I just want to be very mindful of that as we, you know, the fees and where we send them and all of that, knowing that we're, you know, it's big opportunities that are awaiting them out there if they go and if they don't go somewhere, kind of thing. And I know there's all these other but just I just want to, you know, it's really throwing it out there, I think, for all of us to be really aware of that. Oh, and then I have a question. Is there a plan to I know Mary's going to kill me. That's why it's a good thing we're on the opposite.
Don't ask that question. I know where you're going.
I just wanted to reflect. Do you want to answer before I ask it? Or?
Sure. Let me see if we're on the same plane.
Okay.
Is there an opportunity to grow in the future?
Yes.
And we're talking allied health. So, you know, it's a little bit different animal. We have been doing it in the east. We've piloted, and you can see that as well on the public side of the website, although that's actually changing. The website is changing. I think it's going to be on board Monday, hopefully. We had to get one more securities license certificate. But anyway, I think you're going to really like it. It's beautiful. Some of you have seen it. It really is allied health focused. It's not nursing. Okay, and it's much more intuitive. It's really nice. feedback. So gridding, we do grid allied health in the east. I do, for a few hospitals, and that would be Cooper Health, which is a magnet hospital in Coeur d'Alene. Eastern State has their University of Washington police students gridded. And so right now, and it can be done. It can be done, and healthcare will drive that. I will drive it, but healthcare will drive it. Do they want, there are advantages to actually seeing who's in your system, and the grid is discrete enough tool to be able to do it. So will we do it? If healthcare wants it done, I think it probably will be done. Our grids, according to the production timeline, we start looking at that application, that something will probably after the passport. That is a huge piece, but it is a really vital piece that really does that. It's such an obvious because it would be really significant. And at that point, I think that it would probably benefit healthcare to know precisely what's going on, utilization-wise. So.
What am I thinking next, Mary?
That's funny that you brought that up, because I was just wondering about that. I was like, do they grid the
I
other
knew,
programs? I actually was for us. I was wondering, I was gonna ask Cam that. I was like,
We do, so we grid MAs and rad techs out of North Idaho College, and the PAs for the University of Washington and Eastern State, MAs, CNA, NACs. And so, yeah, we've been piloting that in the East, and it can be done. But then, okay, so you have these coordinators of allied health, and so what I would envision is probably that would be a coordinator for allied health. So they would link up the point of contact, and then it would all be consistent. It would be pretty cool, actually.
it's been a while. Where do the grids live right now? Our nursing grids?
They're on the website.
CPNW?
Yeah, they're on the front.
Are they on the new one? I haven't even looked.
Well,
Yeah, they're by region, and then they're probably not on the next one. They'll be a little bit behind the scenes. We don't want to actually advertise. We did that for accessibility for our nursing managers, only to realize that they really don't have the time to do it anyway. So when our nursing units want to know who's there, the last Hannah, Melissa, Jovia. So they're not really necessarily viewing it. So we're going to bury it inside the website a little bit, not really deep. So it'll be there for everyone to see. It's just not on the front side because we don't need to advertise that.
Yeah, I don't even look for them because Julie pulls them all off and keeps them in-house. So I pull them off in-house. I don't even go looking for them, but.
Is there a plan for having a timeline for updates on processes, like when new modules are introduced, or
I feel like
this new module is ready now and I'm about to send in onboarding paperwork tomorrow and suddenly all these students have to go back and do this other module, or.
Yeah, Julie's not here because Julie actually really had my neck. So.
Because she was probably right in that predicament.
Well, okay, so this was the plan, and again, implementation of everything. What is the ideal? Okay, so we hire someone to create this content of these modules, and it's pretty complex. And so let's just say now it's, we wanted to release it twice a year. Okay, when is there an ideal time? Because now education's around. Okay, but we thought if we release them prior to the fall start, right, that would be a good time. So how about the modules that are created between, let's just say, May and December? It's kind of like creating any product, a car or anything. You just let it sit, people can watch it, look at it, but you can't drive it, sell the car. And so from a business perspective, it doesn't make any sense to create something and wait an entire year to release it. So we thought we'll release it over like the Christmas holiday period, right? So we had a glitch, and it was a server glitch. It wasn't a module glitch, and so we couldn't release it until So we hope that actually, let's just say December 15th, and just throw a date out there, and the new ones between certain dates, and then the fall start, so twice a year. That's what we aimed for with the 8th module, which was the chemical casting communication.
Yeah, I'm thinking whether it's modules or whether it's, you know, being able to check the box so that these ladies can go in and see pass, fail.
Yeah, it's not just the module piece, it's the site coordinator, it's you guys, yeah, there's a lot of pieces.
And it doesn't have to be as infrequent as twice a year, but there needs to be an opportunity for colleges to respond. Not, okay, this is available, so tomorrow, anything coming in has to happen.
I feel like we're kind of like an analogy is that, you know, it's just happening naturally, but it's like you did what? And I thought, oh boy, this is not working. But yeah, and so we will have policies and procedures. Right now, we do have modules on the production timeline. The new CPNW board that will be elected March 3rd, that oversees the business of the organization, they will approve those modules, okay? And these are core content modules. And there will be dynamic pathways, hopefully, built into the system so that if you're down in the bowels of the basement, you're not going to have to do the same patient handling and things like that. So we're working with our healthcare partners on that piece. But any new modules that are in production will not be released until, let's just say December 15th. But everyone will have a heads up on that well in advance. Yeah, we learned our lesson.
So will there be a timeline published on the website for people to be able to visit if they're not in this room?
That would be good. That would be good, just like the updated passport happens.
Is there any way the system can prompt it so when the student goes in to go to onboard, it just prompts them the modules, do these modules?
That they're not compliant.
That they're not compliant, you're gonna have to do these modules?
But hopefully they'll hear that through the nursing program or the Allen Health program or the program that they're in.
Okay,
So
that'd be cool.
I'm just kind of thinking, you had mentioned like December 15th. So for us in particular, any student starting in January would have already been onboarded by that time. So new modules released December 15th. I just am hoping there's consideration of the students that have already onboarded then are done. And so the next group.
So we'll probably have to throw out something distribution-wise to see what the dates will be. Are we going to find one ideal date? We didn't know.
Yeah, because Jolita said she wanted a month notice, so I already did mine.
For our contracts, yes.
Everybody wants a month notice, you guys, including CPNW. You know, yeah. Don't be trained. We want you trained in the next 10 minutes. No, it's not going to happen. Yeah, so, yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So there'll be nothing, you guys, just to let you know, nothing until we figure it out.
Thanks for the reminder, I wrote down module because I gotta make mine do the module. It's Jolita, don't get in trouble with listening to Jolita. The big two, we'll call him the big two. Providence isn't here, right?
No,
Oh, there, oh, they are there. Shoot. I don't go there, though. I only go to the big two.
They are good.
So I don't know.
Actually.
Whoops.
You guys know that multi-care is now in Eastern Washington. Yeah, multi-care is now, I think it's awesome.
Well, it's
They're
not
so
closed
excited.
yet, but yeah, this spring or summer.
Deaconess Valley or Rockwood.
Yes.
That's a big,
Sean,
they are excited.
Sean, you're gonna have to get to know her. Yeah, big three. You get to know the big three. Yeah, I told Sean I could help him do the big two, but I can't help him with the big three because I don't know how to onboard to Providence.
It's the same process.
Well,
We
they-
have a really handy dandy website that that it's public facing, that you can go on there and it'll walk you through the process.
Oh,
Per page.
Mary, got another question for you. Well, I guess for Colleen as well. Sorry. I'm gonna put this out here. If one of our allied health folks wants to join for a meeting of the consortium, is that okay?
Our meetings are open.
Okay, that's what I'm just,
Yeah, so.
I'm asking questions that I
yeah,
think may be
so,
out there.
Yeah, with the merger now, the consortium, the nursing programs meet monthly or every other month. But certainly, they're open meetings and they're basically clinical placement, conversations of best practice and placement issues and anything else pertaining to business of the region. There will be a CPNW board that meets as an oversight governance board.
Well, I think that's important.
It is
When it's, I
important.
mean, listening to
Well, it is.
what I'm hearing is
I agree.
validating, because knowing that a lot of us are in the same situation with our students, and I think it's just important to have an opportunity to continue the dialogue, basically, as these things continue to
Oh, yeah,
roll out.
absolutely. It's a team approach. I mean, and whenever you decide any product, that's why, Teresa, we grab people for user groups, not nursing people. And nursing is unique, and this is not a unique product any longer. So we took nursing off of almost everything a couple years ago. Just scratched it out. And that's good. We're a team.
That's much appreciated. I attended one of these meetings before I became program director, and I was shut down so quick.
Really?
Oh, thank you for opening it up.
Well,
Thank
you
you.
mean really in the South region or? Oh, really? Was I there?
I don't know.
I think you probably did it.
I shut her down. Well, I hope not. No, because I mean, all of these pieces, you guys, you cannot deliver health care without the team. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous to even is the notion. And we never intended, you have to look at the history. The process began over 20 years ago before any of us in this room participated in it as a vision to basically communicate the placement of nursing students. Okay? And that's where the schedule came in. That came out of California, Long Beach, and then the conversation at the Pierce County Health Careers Skills Panel, how do we standardize health and safety requirements? And that's when I came on board. I thought, what are they talking about? But no one did anything the same. And I'm talking about across town. What multi-care did, for instance, instead of do, there was no standard. Students weren't checked. Nobody checked anything, and that's the truth. And so I'd get on the phone to healthcare partners and say, do you do this? No, should we be? Well, no one knew anything. And so to create the standard was hard. And so the standard discussion started taking place. But then how do we standardize across the landscape for all of these students? What is the core piece? And so that's where we are today. And I don't think we could do it. I think that's why we have meetings with Pharmacy Consortium, 5-state consortium of pharmacy directors, medicine. Everyone has done something different. It's not to say better or worse, but how do we standardize it? My analogy is 10 years ago, anybody could present a CPR card. They just did CPR card. This is my CPR card, and this is mine, and it was multi-care that said, time out. What is the Acme School of CPR? And seriously, you guys. And so we found out, we did a little bit of investigation. There was nothing standard about the CPR content. Students didn't know how to do CPR. And we thought, okay, it's done. It is done, it's AHA. And all the uproar, we'll sue you, we'll do all, well, go ahead, sue us, who are you gonna sue? And so to create the standard, and that's what this is about, making it simple, effective, cost-effective, quality. That's what this is about. It's not about nursing. It's just not. I just came out of that particular profession, they drove it for a while, and now I want to stay here. I think it's great, actually. And so come to the meetings. It'll be more likely, it'll sound like that.
So I just pulled up your website. I don't see, is there a way to find out when and where meetings are, or do we need to?
What'd you say? No, we don't have the meetings on the website, no, because I think that we have to create our schedules. I think that the regions need to get their schedules published, and that's something that we should do.
I can tell you the next one is March 10th at Franciscan at the FESC.
At the what?
At the FESC building, Tacoma.
It's FESC. It's on State Street.
2420 South State.
Hey, Mary, just,
So what I will do as a secretary for the next 2 weeks, and then we'll have it after that, is I will take this and I will add everybody to my distribution list for CPNW, and then when it's close to the meeting time, I always shoot out the agenda and parking passes and directions and everything else.
So fun. Yeah, it's not, it's a fun good. It really is.
Maybe tell me something.
That's good. I agree.
hey, Mary, this bottom corner, I fill out thousands of these things, but I've never known who uses the stuff in the bottom corner. Is that Providence, or is that pharmacy, or?
No, you have to have a driver's license, insurance and so forth to get on that. That's a federal requirement, and VA.
Right.
The color blood test is on the University Health System. And, what else is on the
Food handlers.
That's Swedish medicine.
Okay. So, yeah, because Madeline's never asked before, but just in case they do, you've put it on there. Okay, I was wondering about that, yeah. I've onboarded VA in Madigan, but they've never asked. Well, actually VA did, but we quit going there.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. Right, I was curious about that. I was like, other than the drug screen for you guys, I've never put anything in that box before. So I was just always like, who wants all that stuff?
So I have confusion around the CPR card versus first aid, because now students are telling me that they are only getting one card, and they did the first aid part of it. But I have no way to know that. So, so now I'm seeing first aid card down in this additional requirements, but we require it for everybody. So all of our allied health programs have both the health provider CPR card and first aid.
They're only doing one card now, though.
And
the
that's,
healthcare.
yeah, they're only doing one, they're only issuing one card, right?
They're issued one. Yeah, it's called that.
It goes under both.
Okay, so we just need to
Just, but, yeah, well, yeah, they need to upload it in both sections, because it says both on there.
Okay.
The cards do.
But I'd be interested to know, the rest of you expect first aid, it is in that box.
We don't need first aid for you guys, do you?
Well, I don't know why they make us do first aid. I think it's ridiculous. Do they make you guys do first aid too?
We do it.
Our school makes
There's
us
a
do
lot
it.
of
The school-
kickback about why we need first aid. I mean, it's in the box on the lower right, so do we need, do you have all your students do first aid?
I think in our standards, like, isn't it with KHEB? There's in our standards that we need parts of first aid, so we have them do American Heart CPR and first aid.
Yeah, it's part of our it's part of our curriculum as far as medical assisting goes. It's part of our curriculum. It's part of most allied health professions curriculum.
Don't they go together?
But they still have to go through additional. It's repetitive.
Yeah.
Because our school
Yeah,
requires it.
Right, that's what.
There are different courses. And the standard BLS course that I would say in hospital we're taking, there's no first aid. So
Okay.
there's the other course that is and then we use BLS and CPR sort of interchangeably, that is a combo course and gets you both.
Okay.
So they are completely different courses, and the card will indicate whether the
Okay.
course included the first aid.
Yeah, they get really confused.
Yeah, it's a
very
confusing subject, but American Heart Association offers this course, which is your BLS, and another course, which is, then I think it's more CPR and first aid.
Right, okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Healthcare partners, are you expecting first aid?
No.
We require the BL.
So no.
No
We don't.
first aid.
No?
BLS.
No, so no first aid, the big three.
Not the big three.
Noted.
Well, that's just interesting, we wanted to get a sense of it.
And keep in mind, this is the requirement of BLS providers for all of our
The CPR.
Yes, the
Yes.
BLS provider is the retirement.
Right, which is no problem.
I have a question about the user group. How often do they meet? What are they doing? Or is it done remotely?
Well, let's see, we have a meeting coming up next week.
Don't know.
I have to look at my calendar for the day. And so we meet probably every 4 weeks. And we have people from every region, representatives. And it is done remotely. We actually do a joining session, so we have our IT folks, and they're pretty much the managers of the project, and they're basically users. And we probably have we have 3 users here. And we have Lena Historova of North, who is the program director of the nurse practitioner at North Salem College. And let's see who else is in the Northeast, someone from the East. We probably have about 8 people.
And what's the goal?
The goal is actually a user group pretty much works through the functionality, discusses what they do, and then kind of interfaces with our IT people who build the application. And this application right now is that's what we're working on. So it's called the Passport User Group. Real creative. But and so we pull people into our healthcare and education, and the ones that actually have the working knowledge, and those people have been carefully selected because they deal with it hands-on, both from a healthcare perspective and an education perspective. And plus they have knowledge of the vendors that they're using. I mean, so it's a pretty good group of people right now. I think it's really dynamic group, especially people in school. But yeah, it's good. And we're making, I think we're making pretty good work.
I'm curious, being on our learning curve.
If you ever want to join, call me.
Well, I was thinking if it was an appropriate place for me to join, and it might be in the future. I was thinking more in terms of, as I learned more about the CPNW website and the new onboarding process, because I try to stay on top of that onboarding for everything, to coach faculty who gather it for students. But I found just very simple things like terminology used is on the website is not common terminology, so it was really hard for me to find where things were at first. And so on the CPNW site, it's like, here's the instructions. Once you find the right place to go here, do this, 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 and this. But if you go to Franciscan site or multi-care site, it might say the same thing, but it's all in different order, or all in different language. So then I have my own directions, which I've always had for how to navigate these. And they've actually about doubled in length now. Okay, the CPNW site says this, and that says this, and this is what you need to do. So what would be the appropriate place to be providing that kind of feedback? So it's just a matter of like streamlining things.
So actually, the next website, I think you're going to see a huge change. I mean, that's my perspective, and those healthcare folks that are, I guess you should be actually saying this, but, and it's from their feedback, actually, from the huge feedback from Allied Health, which was, I think, justified. But this is right to the start here. I mean, seriously. And so it's very intuitive. It's broken down. Healthcare partners, students. I mean, it's just really, it's clear. And I prefer it. And so when it comes out, which will be very soon, give us feedback. Because that's where really changes are made.
I haven't been on the site for a while, on the CPNW site, but the preliminary onboarding instructions, has that been incorporated onto our site yet? Okay, that's
Yeah, all of that. And the new site is that, I think I sent you guys I think I sent you the link for the sandbox where it was being created, and I guess we could have brought that up today, but it'll be available really soon, but it's really, say it's a huge.
I'd like to add something. It sounds like you do the same thing at your school that I do here. And for me, it's been really helpful because I do sit on the user group. And so I've made instructions for nursing, how to navigate multi-care through the CPNW and Franciscan. And then I've tailored that to our other programs here for respiratory, and then shared that with those programs. And so it's been really helpful for us here as a school to streamline those things as well, and then also work with those programs on their feedback. And then I write those things down so I can bring those back to the group. Like I said, unfortunately, I was sick last, so I kind of missed the boat last meeting. But it's really been helpful because the faculty and the people that sit in the other programs, the chair people, feel like they have somewhere they can bring back their questions. And again, me and Jolita have had some conversations, me and Melissa, about how it's really gives us a centerpiece here at TCC to make people feel like that this is a useful tool. The CPNW is going to be useful and stuff. So
we do reach into our membership. I mean, Teresa, Melissa, Lisa, Diane, but I'll pass my card around. So if you have interest, seriously, let me know. The more the merrier. I mean, it's your perspective is critical. We want to really an effective product and a tool, and we do it better. And from our group, this is a custom tool. It's not. Before we actually embarked on this journey, and that's what it's feeling like. Actually, we did our due diligence. We traveled the country. We explored and sat down for days in Minneapolis, evaluating different vendors, and looked at the cost and projected out expense and everything. In the end, they were not a fit. Okay, and that's why we decided we will build our own custom tool. And that's what we're doing. And so it is your tool. It's not my tool. I work for you. And so, seriously, I'll pass my card around. I mean, Josie would love to have. Josie has a huge program. I think she does. And like Deb Elstrom at Renton, I'd like to have input from anybody that handles this stuff. Not administrates, but actually works with, all the process. Which is a lot, isn't it? I mean, seriously, in healthcare. I sat for 3 days at Franciscan and Patty Kern's chair. I don't want to shoot myself. Patty left, and so I was asked, can you come in? And I thought, oh, sure, I can do that. And I thought, oh, I can't do this. And I leave, crying out to my car. And I think, how do I do this? And then I thought, okay, well, I'm going to pull Deb Elstrom in on the last day. And Deb looked like, the night of the living dead walking to her car. You guys have a huge job. I mean, so all of these pieces, and we can do better to embrace technology where we can. And then, have a little bit more fun, on our downtime. But it's a huge job. This is a huge piece, processing students, placing students, all these regulations. So I'm passing my card around, and I hope you guys all follow me.
Can I just say thank you to you as a dean and administrator, and that's your role also, I understand, for being here and understanding and hearing what the process is and knowing it. From the administration side, that's key. So thank you from that side of the house too.
You go ahead.
Thank you.
Well, I know we can do this, you guys, Remember what it was like before you guys even were. So Colleen was a program director, Vicki sat working on the finance division, starting from scratch, 0, ground. And look at how far, seriously, this group has come. But it is a huge group. And it's, we have to, it is a team. And so we really do need your input, your feedback. better to be proactive and be involved in the build rather than go, oh, this is great. You know, seriously. And I have to say, the first website, we were rushed, and it was really nursing. It looked too much like nursing, and medicine was not happy at all. And so I'm anxious to see what they think of this next piece.
The challenge is the time to implement the change in our house as well as.
The only constant is change. So embrace it, embrace chaos. I told Diane earlier before the meeting, that's my new mantra, just embrace chaos. Yeah. But I think that together we can do this. It's kind of exciting. It's quiet. Any questions?
Any
you
more
guys?
questions, comments?
Maybe just a comment, it's an offline comment. For allied health deans and directors, there's a quarterly meeting that takes place. I know that Vicki and I go to that quite a lot. And it's a place where we can get together and talk about the academic side of things. And it's very helpful for some networking and talking about common challenges that we have, not just in general, like how do you get good faculty? How do you keep them? What are we doing about drug screens, right? Because we can't make students do drug screens, right? It's a clinical thing. So different things that we can talk about together. And it's Dan Ferguson is who puts those on. He's from the Center of Excellence in Yakima. If you're interested in going, I would suggest and encourage you to contact. And we kind of go all around the state to meet and talk about stuff. So please do, because we're all in it together, right? We all have so many things that we do in common. That's it. Thank you.
When is that next meeting?
It's in March, and unfortunately I'm going to be gone during that meeting. I got it. Do you remember, Vicki, did you get an email from Dan yesterday?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I missed
I
it.
think it's coming in March, and it's at the Georgetown campus for GCL colleges. So it's pretty convenient for us here. Last time it was down in Vancouver, that was a lot of fun. Let's see if I can find it.
I don't think I usually get them from Dan. I don't.
think I get it from Dan either.
Well, okay, let me see if I can find it.
Well, I just want to say thank you. I always value sitting around with my colleagues. It's always a lot of fun, and I just think this is a really important. It's just an important forum, and it's an important way to share and talk about what things are going to happen. And there's been so much change that I'm just excited that we were here to able to share. And we haven't fixed all the challenges and know what we're all doing, but there's something that feels good about knowing that everybody else is in the same situation a little bit. And again, that we're working toward a common goal. And this is about students being able to more effectively, efficiently being able to get to, some really good job opportunities and clinical experiences. So thank you for hosting and for allowing us to come together.
And you guys as a group, think about how you can actually move the change process along, even for cost of immunizations from a legislative point of view. How can that be addressed to students statewide? Different things. I think you have to be active and proactive. Think about, Oregon has certainly facilitated some things. And I think that it's something that we should think about. Now that we're actually putting in place with state class. It's a pretty huge forum of noise to affect change.
March 2nd. March 2nd, so it's just a couple of weeks away.
I think
Georgetown campus is South Seattle Community College.
I think that's a really good point, Mary. I think that there's got to be a way to start offering immunizations at a lower cost for these students that are trying to go out and save people's lives. I mean, this isn't like they're just, trying to go do something silly. I mean, they're trying to go out and get an education on trying to become a nurse to go save people's lives, and they shouldn't have to, not be able to do this because they can't afford immunizations.
Well, it happened in Kootenai where they actually tried to lower the standards, they called me, and the people that worked on the passport there were really upset, but it did involve MAs, and I think it was like, I'm trying to, I can't remember which organization it was. And they were pretty concerned, but then they actually met with administrators of the hospital and everything. And the hospital found some kind of grant to facilitate, because it actually took the students through this.
A lot of times too, it's just lab work because they've gotten the shots. They just can't find these shot records, and they just need some lab work
This was not
drawn.
that case though. And so, if we're going to protect global community, the herd immunity piece is so big for community well-being that everything on our passport is pretty crucial. And so, I think that you need to take it and boot it up the food stream which you get at least discussed. Governor's Council and health, affairs.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Who's grant writer?
It's not even a grant. It's really actually just going down to Olympia. We have people in Olympia today from our organizations talking about, particular law that it's just hopefully yeah, it's just entertaining the conversation because until you actually ask for the meeting, they don't know that there's a problem. They don't know.
Well, I'm going on a field trip with my son next week. Should I ask him?
Sure, just walk into the governor's
Mr. Inslee, you busy? I'll have my son do it. I'll send him on in. He's 13. He'd probably do it too if I told him to.
Well, and they actually have to talk to you. So it's just something you start and just have your speech done in 15 minutes.
Take every single opportunity.
If he's there, I might just do it. You'd never know.
There was a time when we were short on surge text sites, and my husband had a day surgery. And after I got him checked in, I said, "Please speak with your director." But I had been leaving voicemail after voicemail for a person who was on the contact list. Lo and behold, they were not there anymore. And that got me the contact for the interim, and now we go there almost every quarter.
If you don't ask, it's always a no. It's always a no.
You bring it up.
Wow, we almost used the whole time. Are there any more comments or questions? Okay, this has been most informative, and I want to thank everybody for all your sharing of your ideas and concerns, and welcome you to any of the meetings, north, south. I think it's important. So thank you again, and we'll adjourn.